Hello and welcome to Xbox On. You are listening to producer Matthew, and I'm joined by our editor Kieran.
Hey there.
And today we're going to be talking about backwards compatible games. As you know, a selection of 360 games work on Xbox One. The library is constantly being added to, so we've basically rounded up some of the best games that have been added in the last few weeks, and we're going to talk you through some of them. So let's get going. So first up, we've got Street Fighter 4.
A game I have probably spent way too many hours in.
A game that I've spent way too little time playing, as this is actually me playing this.
I was about to say, I didn't want to throw you under the bus, but
which is why I sort of just jump around a lot and do some rather weak kicks, and I was just trying to remember how you do a fireball. The most iconic button combination in video game history.
I mean, you at least remembered in the end,
yeah.
So where is that?
Yeah, so I'm not a big fighting game guy, but I did play a fair chunk of this when this first came out. My very basic line is, it really feels great when you punch people. It's just the very basic level of satisfaction of hitting people is high in this game.
To be fair, it is. It's probably one of the better fighting games I've played. In fact, probably goes far to say probably one of the best. It's incredibly rounded, and also in true Street Fighter fashion. They've added a bunch of new characters while keeping the classics, and the new characters are just as bizarre as you would expect.
Yeah.
For example, we've got El Fuerte here, who is a luchador chef.
Of course.
Which is a true combination if ever I heard of anything.
And who's this guy here? This Rufus, right?
Here we have Rufus, the self-proclaimed king of martial arts in America, who is best described as somewhat mesmerizing to watch.
Yeah, look at his belly. It's the most amazing thing.
It's kind of astonishing, but all these new characters and everything, they were absolutely brilliant. And you've still got the classics, so you've still got Sagat, Ryu, Chun-Li, Zangief, all that. So all brilliant stuff.
Oh, it's well worth dipping into then.
Definitely.
Next up, we have Assassin's Creed Rogue. This was kind of a really interesting one because it came out on 360 at the same time that Assassin's Creed Unity came out on Xbox One. So while I think everyone was getting kind of quite obsessed with the whole next-gen Assassin's Creed thing, I think Rogue was just sort of quietly being a very good game on 360.
I was about to say, Rogue is the one I never actually played but was hugely interested in.
Yeah, so what's really cool about Rogue is that you actually play a Templar in it as opposed to the Assassin.
Right.
So it kind of set in the same time period as Assassin's Creed 3, so it's kind of combination of sort of ships and land-based stuff. It hadn't gone all out kind of naval in the style of
Black Flag.
Yeah, Black Flags, but it's kind of you're in this sort of snowy kind of icier kind of waters. But yeah, so you're playing a slightly evil,
a more morally skewed character.
Yeah, exactly. But it's quite sort of standard stuff in terms of what you're actually doing. But it evolves the template a little bit. One of the things I really like is because you're in icy waters. When you're doing ship combat, you can blow up big chunks of ice, and it creates a big tidal wave which will destroy smaller ships, which is actually it's just a cool little effect.
That's actually a really neat addition.
Yeah. But that's the thing, I think it's just, if you're a completionist and you want to know kind of the full Assassin's Creed story, if this is a really good chance to kind of dip back into Rogue. Slipped under the radar originally, but I think it's actually, pretty solid.
Hey, we have Hitman Absolution, going ahead straight with the introduction.
Started to mean to go on.
Yeah.
Throw a chap out a window. Did you play much of this?
I did. I actually quite enjoyed Absolution, and it's a bit of the kind of the black sheep of the series because it's hugely different from everything else. But at the same time, you can't really discredit it because there's so much in Absolution that actually got passed on to the Hitman that came out last year.
Yeah.
They added the entire instinct mode kind of thing, and also the entire level masteries, which, you replay a level over and over, you get new disguises, new methods of killing people.
I don't know that some people had a problem with the fact that it kind of split levels into kind of self-contained areas. They weren't big sandboxes.
Yeah.
There was also, it's a bit more of a action story. There's a stretch where you're on the run from the police and it's all a little bit hectic. But I think when you get down to it, the actual assassinations, when they kind of happen, are, like you say, there's actually quite a lot of ways to do it, and it does reward you.
Like there's one mission that sticks out in the back of my head, which is the King of Chinatown, which was brilliant.
Oh yeah,
really showed off how good this game actually is.
So we got a classic GTA 4. I'm showing a not so classic moment from the beginning of the game where you arrive and you meet your cousin Roman.
It's one of the very few times he doesn't ask you to go bowling, but is actually asking you just to take him home for once.
I was absolutely obsessed with this game when it came out. GTA is obviously a pretty massive thing in most people's
landmark
kind
games,
of, gaming kind of time growing up. But when this came out, I remember going around to a friend's house to play it. They were actually reviewing it for a magazine. I remember going to see it, and like the stuff where you jump out of the car and like roll along the floor like this. It just like blew my mind. I mean, it looks a little goofy there, but like the physics on the characters, just amazing.
It was incredible.
It's a great game. Like, it's GTA 4. It's a classic.
You need to play it.
Are you a big Lego game fan?
I've played a few of them, and Indiana Jones is actually one of the few I played, and I really loved it.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a great take on the entire Indiana Jones tale.
It's one of the earlier ones. I'm pretty sure it was the first non-Star Wars game that they did. I'm pretty sure it's like the third Lego game.
I think it might well be, yeah.
And what's really interesting about this, I think a lot of people write off the Lego games as like they're all the same, like because they do follow a kind of template. There's certain things you're collecting the studs to fill the meter,
and all that.
You build things, but actually going back to this now, like you kind of remember, you appreciate like how far the series has actually like developed.
Yeah, because each kind of entry has got its own kind of little things to it, and Indiana Jones was pretty much one of the main starters for that, really.
Yeah, so this went big on like. They've always had different characters have different abilities, but it went big on like you could pick up objects. That was the first time you could do that in a Lego game.
Yeah.
So like the mechanic could pick up a wrench and sort of fix the plane, and Indiana Jones could pick up whips and whatnot.
Just be cool and adventurous.
Yeah, it felt like it was taking a step towards being a slightly more kind of complicated game. It also helps that like the Indiana Jones series is so iconic. Like it's really, really easy to kind of riff on, and there's lots of dumb stuff. What was going on there?
Just like Alfred Molina getting taken by a waterfall.
But well worth a look. This is stacking. Have you played stacking?
No, I have heard about stacking.
So stacking, weirdly, actually, it reminds me a little bit of Hitman. You've got to stick with me on this. You play as a Russian stacking doll, and the idea is that you're a tiny character. You can stack into a doll that's bigger than you, then that doll can stack into a doll that's bigger than it. But when you stack into a character, you take that character's abilities.
Okay.
So it's almost a bit like, in Hitman, you have to collect costumes to get into different areas. You have to sort of do that in this as well. Like, certain people can go into certain places. They've got little abilities, and also, like Hitman, every puzzle has like multiple solutions.
Okay.
So you're really encouraged to kind of dig into it. It's actually made by Double Fine, it's Tim Schafer's lot, who obviously worked on all the kind of point-and-click games back in the day, Monkey Island and the like. And it's kind of like that, except the characters are the verbs that you use to solve the puzzles. It's a really smart game, really, really funny. It's got like
I'm really digging this visual style and kind of a humour that this game has going on.
Yeah, but it was a great little Xbox Live Arcade title when it came out on 360. I think it's really, really worth a look. And it's like a tenner or something. It's a lot of fun.
Probably going to go check that out myself. Actually,
yeah, do it. You will not be disappointed, especially if you're back into the puzzle game thing because of Thimbleweed Park. This is a game for you. So if you watch our other video with the Games with Gold roundup, you can hear Benny talking about Darksiders 1, which is free with Games with Gold in April. But we also added Darksiders 2 to Back Compat this month. I guess the quickest way I'd say of describing it is it's kind of like sort of a heavy metal Zelda.
Yeah.
In that there's sort of overworld, dungeons, combat, puzzling.
Yeah, I can fully feel that. Like, the best way I can think to describe Darksiders 2, which is probably another game I've sunk way too much time into, is it's like the weird combination of, like I said, a heavy metal Legend of Zelda, and also bits of Diablo here and there as well.
Oh, yeah, it's got loads of loot.
So there's loads of loot, loads of stat checking, but it's not like incredibly boring. Like, oh, this will do X amount of damage. It's like, no, this weapon looks really cool. I'm going to use it because it looks cool.
Yeah, you can just pick up, like, everyone drops lots of stuff and you can kind of dress yourself quite quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're new to the series, like, it's all about the kind of 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. And I think the idea that each game was going to be a different horseman.
Yeah.
So the first one you play War, in this one you're Death, the Grim Reaper, but like a really sort of hench version of the Grim Reaper. But yeah, it's like a massive game as well, like a big action RPG.
Probably one of the best open world RPGs that I actually played on the 360.
Oh,
like, I really enjoyed it.
That's a bold claim. So yeah,
I'm a big fan of stuff like Devil May Cry and things like that, and you kind of get reminiscent of that with the gameplay in this.
Right.
So.
An even
Very
bolder
weak.
claim.
Very weak for that kind of thing.
So those have been our backwards compatible 360 picks for the last couple of months. Do let us know in the comments if you've been playing any of these games and enjoying them, or if you think there's any absolute classics we've missed in this list, because they're adding so many games. I'm sure there's something brilliant that we've managed to overlook. Yeah, do give the video a like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, and check back with us for more great Xbox content throughout the week.